Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Star of the show,
Lamar Darnell Shields.
What's up, Sound Bombing community? This is your man, Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, in the building. I don't know why people always have to say that they're in the building, but I'm in the building. I'm excited to be here again because we are facing this international pandemic. I just want to just remind you all to be safe, wash your hands, keep your social distancing, keep that immune system strong, eat healthy, whole foods, drink a lot of water, stay away from the news, and just give some love to some people that you have not spoken with in a very, very long time, because this is some very, very different times for all of us. Unless you are over the age of 90 years old, you might not have seen anything like this unless you are from another country and your country was under siege for whatever reason. But for most of us living not only just in the United States and in other parts of the world, this is brand new to us. And so again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank all my folks at Stitcher for including us. iTunes, we're at Stitcher, we're at iTunes, we are at iHeartRadio, we are at Pandora. So we are all over the place. And don't tell me that you cannot find me, because we are everywhere. And so thank you for spending time with us, because as Jay-Z said, you can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me today. And I am so grateful that you are joining me. And as always, you all know I bring on some of the dopest, smartest guests who are amazing in their own right. And today is no different from any other day. You all heard me in the past and maybe some other shows talking about living healthy and talking about taking care of myself. Well, you know, one of the things that's becoming super popular is what they call CBD. And CBD has become a craze, but most people know little more about it than it comes from the hemp plant and is believed to be very good for your health. Now, what I will share with you, in December, President Donald Trump legalized most products containing CBD when he signed the Farm Bill into law. And since then, retailers such as CVS and Walgreens both recently announced plans, and I've already started selling CBD products. Coca-Cola is said to be exploring the new idea of adding CBD to their beverages, and even Oreos. Yes, I eat Oreos because they are vegan. They just don't tell you that they're vegan, but even Oreos has jumped into the mix. Well, with the CBD industry projected to grow to $22 billion by 2020, many organizations are understandably eager to enter the world of CBD. However, despite the enthusiasm around the CBD's potential growth, there are significant uncertainties around how regulations and evolving scientific studies will impact the industry. These shifting trends can be particularly challenging to navigate for organizations with not a lot of familiarity with the CBD space. And let's face it, few businesses have any kind of deep experience with CBD at this point in its lifestyle. The potential of CBD is exciting for business owners and consumers alike. Yet for all the potential profits and healing that could come with CBD, there are still many questions about what CBD actually is, why it's important, and how legal it actually is. I've read everywhere online about this. I got conflicting stories, so I decided to set the CBD facts straight by inviting Mike Pachan into the Sound Bombing Studios to help unpack the misconceptions of CBD and CBD related products. Because as the CEO of Mountain Made, a Colorado-based CBD company that makes products with the focus on athletes and those with active lifestyles, Mike has 9 years of experience in cannabis, 5 years of experience with hemp, 3 years of experience in group fitness, the creation of 4 patent programs to help Colorado residents better understand the cannabis regimens, began interacting with high CBD products as early as 2012, over 100,000 direct interactions with cannabis patients in 5 years, responsible for bringing 12 products to market in both the hemp and cannabis spaces, co-founded a company with annual gross sales of over 35 million in product. Mike and his team strive to bring the most relevant and up-to-date information surrounding CBD. Their passion for cannabidiol is what drives them and makes them want to inform everyone on the benefits of CBD and what it can do to enhance the quality of life. So for my people out there who are into CBD or into things that are really, really helping your body get it together, come real close to the microphone, come real close to the speakers, because in the bomb shelter with me right now is my man Mike. Mike, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Dr. Lamar, thank you so much, man. That was a great introduction.
Hey, man.
A lot of energy there, and looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have.
Hey, because the products that you're creating is creating energy. And so it made sense for me, Mike, to give you the best introduction there was. So I want to get down to it. So, man, many of my listeners sent me tons of questions. I'm excited that you took time to sit down with me, because we are dealing with a pandemic that's got people crazy. So can you tell us a little bit about how your interest in CBD turned into making a decision to start your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can go all the way back. So when you read my bio, 9 years was correct. This month, so the month of April actually marks a decade time I've spent in the legal above board cannabis space. So we'll take a journey here quick. We'll jump in the DeLorean and go all the way back 10 years, and that's really where it all started.
Uh-huh.
So 10 years ago, it's important to understand that it was a completely different industry. That's when I first dipped my toe in the cannabis space. It was the Wild West, just enough regulations to get us up and moving. And since then, the industry has really matured into what it is now. To be honest with you, what drew me to the cannabis space 10 years ago was just necessity. I was living in a ski town. The ski season ended. There was 6-week gap between firing up the town again for summer. And I just didn't want to sit still for 6 weeks. So I put my headphones on, and I was convinced I was going to try out this manifesting thing that I'd heard, so much about in Colorado. Put my headphones on, said, I'm going to go manifest a job, and literally walked in to an opening door, and there was a gentleman putting a sign out that said Cocopelli Wellness open tomorrow. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm looking for work. He said, come help me unload all the stuff to get this shop going, and I'll hire you, and you can run the shop for the summer. And I was like, cool, So I literally manifested a job 10 years ago in the cannabis space because I needed employment. But it was obvious really quickly thereafter that not only did I have a passion for it, the industry had a passion to keep me on board, and the people of Colorado, and back then it was all medical sales, had a passion to support the industry, and I got hooked. On day one, there was just no doubt that this is what I was going to do for, a solid length of time. And now it's been over 10 years, and I just don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
So why did you want to join the cannabis industry, and why are you passionate about working in this particular industry?
Yeah. So initially, again, I needed a job, and it was cool that I felt like I had found a cool job. It's like, wow, I want to be part of a movement, and we're selling legal medical cannabis. And that seemed, really attractive. I've always kind of had, that wild side where I think unconventional ways and thoughts and lifestyle is pretty cool. So it was right up my alley. It kept me busy. But what hooked me was the feedback that I started getting right away from patients. So back then they were referred to as patients. Nowadays we call them customers. And you would start to help people find a cannabis strain that they were looking for. And I don't know, I think it's just in my personality to have good conversation with people. So I started to ask a lot of open-ended questions. If you would come into the shop, I'd have said, Dr. Lamar, what'd you think of that, Durban poison bud that you bought? And man, tell me more about that caramel that you ate. And how is that water hash? What did you experience? And I would leave questions open, and you would start to hear some just absolutely incredible feedback. All that Durban poison, I had such a great walk in the park. I was euphoric and I felt happy, and my anxiety came down. And then that caramel helped me sleep. And that lotion that you recommended, man, it felt great on my knees. And then I would sell those same products to 10, 20, 50 more people and ask them the same open-ended questions. And what really caught my interest was when that feedback started to come back similar but unprompted. I was like, wow, I think, this industry's really onto something. And I was hooked.
Well, speaking of being hooked, it's funny, no pun intended, hooked, CBD, marijuana, cannabis, no pun intended. What are some of the misconceptions about CBD? Because, I've read tons of articles. I'm a health nut. I'm a vegan. My motto is meat free since '93, into trying a variety of things. Read this great Newsweek article. I came home, my children thought I was about to grow a garden. It said weed on the cover, and they was like, what's going on? I had a lot of questions I had to answer for them. My buddy was running for governor in the state that I'm currently living in. He had to sit down with his children and say to his children, like, I'm down for this, but we would not be doing this in our house. What are some of the most common misconceptions?
Yeah, I think several. So let's start with CBD. First of all, CBD oil is not the answer for everything, and people need to remove oil when they're talking about CBD. CBD comes in many forms. Oil is just one of them. The reason that you see it as being the most popular product on the shelf, the tincture, is not because it's the best delivery system for you. It's by design the only delivery system that worked back in the day in 2014-15, and we can unpack that a little bit. The average consumer is being fooled. They're thinking in their mind that tincture, I see it the most, it must be the best. I've heard this word sublingual. They don't understand that it's, one, not a very effective delivery system, and two, the reason you see a lot of it is a lot of these new brands don't even know enough about cannabis or hemp to determine if tincture should be a good delivery system. They just think it's a quick path to getting rich. They throw a white label on a bottle, they get it to market, and they try and charge you a lot of money for a very ineffective product. Two, misconception, most of the CBD in the industry comes from hemp. Cannabis usually does not promote a lot of CBD. Some cannabis plants promote some, but the majority of CBD will come from the hemp plant. That's just the way the plant is designed. It prefers to pump out CBD with trace amounts of THC. Three, I think CBD is not just meant to relax. CBD in itself is not sedative. So eating CBD does not make you drowsy. Our product, Mountain Made Build, is actually designed to be taken first thing in the morning. A high dose of CBD will peak your cognitive ability, not create sedation. And that's an important piece to understand as we move through our conversations today.
So, Mike, what would you tell someone who has never tried it and is overwhelmed by all the options that are out there? I travel a lot as a speaker, and of course, between Colorado and California, you walk into every space. And I'm always concerned with almost anything that all of a sudden becomes popular in the health field, because then I'm thinking, okay, they're watering stuff down. And that's what really concerns me. So I'm glad that you talked about the oil piece. But let's just say one of our listeners has tuned in and they've been reading all of this stuff. And they're like, so where do I start? What could you recommend?
Yeah, the first thing they need to look at is high dose. And they can go on Google and start to pull up some articles. There's a great clinical trial out of Israel they're saying 1,500 milligrams a day is your point where anything over that you could create toxicity in your body. So up to 1,500 milligrams a day is a safe dose. So these brands that are pushing $150 bottles that have 1,000 milligrams in it over 30 doses, there's not even enough dose coming into your body to have any effect. So they need to start at high dose. Any product you buy with CBD in it should have a large dose, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 milligrams in it. You know, a 250 milligram CBD lotion with 60 pumps in it, you paid for snake oil. It's so important to demand high dose out of any product that you're buying in the CBD space.
So is that why, Mike, when you walk into certain stores, so I'm in California, I'm in a health food store, and I see some of the products are locked behind a counter. Some of the CBD products are locked behind the counters and others are not. Is it because the higher dosage is more expensive and then the other stuff that you're seeing at gas stations, at 7-Eleven is a lower grade?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at those gas station products and they're definitely a small dose, 5 milligrams here, 5 milligrams there. Again, there's just no value to them. And I mean, you can start to pull articles. The therapeutic value for autism is between 300 and 600 milligrams. That's science, right? Saying that. The therapeutic value for anxiety is, 150 milligrams to 300. Do you start to look at some of these products where you're only buying, less than 1,000 milligrams? What are you even going to do with that? And then this idea that the oil, and one thing that people need to understand too, sublingual, they hear that word a lot and it sounds like really fancy. Sublingual means absorption under the tongue. Mm-hmm. Sublingual works if you actually hold the carrier under your tongue for 45 seconds.
And I'm so glad you said that, because most of the remedies that I take and my children take, so for example, around the season with this epidemic, we take these remedies and I've taught them to hold it under their tongue for a very long time, and then they can feel the Mike, you can feel the difference.
You can feel it,
instead
right?
Of just
yeah,
dropping
no,
it
I
on
love
top
it.
of the tongue.
I love it. So let's talk about that, right? Like 45 seconds, and right, you and I are talkers. I mean, if I start this sentence now and start talking and think about how long 45 seconds actually is to have a molecule that's innately bitter under your tongue, you're still probably not even at 45 seconds now, right? That's a long time to do that. The accuracy of people actually doing that is minimal, and the dosing, the percent uptake decreases so rapidly every second that you don't commit to that a lot of people could be getting less than 6% of the dose that was in the actual dropper. So let's do the math. 1,000 milligram tincture in a 1 ounce bottle is 36 doses. So I call it napkin math. So I get rid of the 6 and I just round up to 30 doses. So 30 milligrams per dropper. 6% is 1.8 milligrams that you might get in your, even if you get 50%, 15 milligrams, and science is telling you take 100 to 300 milligrams a day for most therapeutic value, you're coming nowhere close. And they're charging you top dollar because sublingual seems like such a strong word, but like you just mentioned, if you're not doing it right, you're not absorbing the active ingredient in that liquid at all.
So you talked about potency, you talked about how one takes it, and you've given some really, really good information. How can they tell if they're taking quality CBD products? We're going to talk about what your products are later on, but just any other, how can they tell if they're taking quality CBD product? And then, since we're talking about that, then share with us what makes your product the best product that's on the market.
Yeah, sure. So, and again, I would say we're definitely one of the best. There's some great products out there. Anyone who's not testing their product at this point for potency, microbial growth, cleanliness, heavy metal, pesticides, you shouldn't even have shelf space at all. We've been testing our product since day one. Cannabis, we've been testing product for 7 years now. So the fact that CBD products launched and weren't testing is absurd. they should have been. They were cutting costs. So, you know, looking at testing, also just taking a look, you know, again, I can't say with exact certainty, but I can tell you 70 to 80% of the CBD oils you see in the market are from a co-packer, meaning there's 12 companies in the country running factory lines, slapping brand after brand after brand on the same product. What differentiates that one bottle of oil from the next? You can't determine anything. They're made off the same line, and I don't think you should buy either product. Right? It's the same junk. It's just in a different, right, tuxedo.
And that's what I was talking about. People throwing these labels on. Like, I think about, and I'm not going to name some of the new remedies that people are taking, putting in their body. I mean, health related stuff. Because there's things that I've been taking, and I try not to judge. I'm like, because I've been taking those things for 10, 12, or 15 years. But again, when there's a label that you just smack it on there, you're seeing it everywhere you go. You're seeing
everywhere.
So you're seeing it everywhere.
There's minimal amounts of companies pumping out that product. So Mountain Made, we actually make something different. We make our product in-house. We do a tablet. It's rapid absorbing, right? It's a simple sugar. It's super easy for your body to grab onto and allow it to cross the cell membrane. It can carry a super high dose. The tablets are homogenized, so they're super consistent. We test every single batch. And to be honest, you can go on our social media and look and tell it's not our first day on the job. You know, that's another important piece. You know, it's really hard for me to go on LinkedIn because there's just so many Johnny come latelys and Johnny newbies and Susie newbies too, you know, guys and gals, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's really disturbing to me because everyone wants to be the next cannabis or hemp CEO or entrepreneur. Put in the legwork first and know the widget you're trying to represent, and so many companies don't, and it's so overwhelmingly apparent. Any company that's making claims like our product cures anxiety or my friend's cancer disappeared, they're reaching, trying to look powerful. It has nothing to do with their product. Those are powers of the plant, and the pieces of the plant in their product. It has nothing to do with their product at all. So if they're trying to make those big claims and attach them to their product, they're grasping for straws, and they don't even know how to market their own product at all. I tell people all the time, if CBD was what it was supposed to be, I'd be 8 feet tall by now, and I'm barely 5'7", you know, and I take 500 milligrams a day, right? So it's not a cure-all, and if brands are talking like it is, especially specific to their brand, they're Johnny or Susie come lately.
So
they're new to the game.
So walk me through the Mountain Made product. So give me a day that you didn't take your product and the day that you did take your product, and show me the difference from how you felt, not just what other people are saying. Because we talked a little bit about some of the other clients and patients, but so there's a day, like for example, I meditate every day. Oh, and I attempt to, because there's no every day, but there are days I forget. And when I don't meditate, Mike, I can feel it. I can feel it. So when you take your product and you don't take your product, because I haven't taken the product, and I want to let people that are listening know I've never taken their product. I'm very excited to do that because I want to do it and then try it out and share it with the audience. But give me the difference when you do and you don't take it.
Yeah. So let's touch on what you said first quick. So just so the listeners know, what we're going to do is give it a fair try. We're going to send you some free samples. You'll get them next week. You try them. You come back on air when I'm not a guest and talk openly about them and give them an honest to gosh feedback. No holds barred. Tell the people what you think, right? Like, that's how confident we are that we're pretty sure we know what we're talking about. We'll send you some, and you can talk about them on air without me even around to defend myself, because I don't think we're going to have to.
I appreciate that, Mike. I like you already, man. Not because you're giving me some products, but you're going to allow me to come in and have a conversation.
Yeah, come in and have a conversation, you know. And again, what I just keep saying on these podcasts, and I'm so thankful that, you know, so many podcasts enjoy having me on, is I'm not here to sell you Mountain Made. I'm here to give you tools and information. If you don't buy Mountain Made, that's fine. But if you start to make good decisions in the CBD space, brands like Mountain Made will continue to be around because the market will demand quality, and we're quality. So we don't need the money today. We want the industry to be around tomorrow. And it's more important to me that people make good decisions than it is that they just, jump online and buy Mountain Made.
And I will
Right.
say the reason why I brought you on here, Mike, is because when I looked at what other companies were doing, I really appreciate the research, because I'm a researcher, man. I really appreciate the body of research that's on your website. I really appreciate you being into health and fitness when you were sharing the story about how you really got into it. And it wasn't just like, oh, there's a big boom. Because, when we were, I'm on the East Coast, and we looked at Colorado, everybody was lighting up. I was like, okay, there's going to be a huge saturation of people running out there and doing X, Y, and Z. But when I looked at your site and I saw you guys were collecting data and research, I said they're on to something. So walk us through the day you don't have the product and the day you do have the product.
Yeah, great. So what we noticed through R&D, and one reason I didn't get into CBD in 15, 16, is because so let's start here. Let's say, Dr. Lamar, you and I farm an acre of CBD, hemp. Let's start there. So we farm the acre of hemp. We extract it, and all we have is raw oil. Okay, so there's only 30 in a jar of that oil. It's only 30-40% CBD, and everything else is plant matter, fats, lipids, all this other stuff, terpenes. Before the industry learned how to get rid of all that and really isolate down to just CBD, all the products were low dose. Because think about it, like if you bake a plate of brownies, and you're not weed brownies, just normal brownies. Or cookies,
like how
right?
you clarified.
And it says 2 tablespoons of oil.
Mm-hmm.
If you put in 2 cups of oil, the brownies don't work because there's too much oil in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing solidifies. So back in the day when all you could get was raw oil before you could refine it into full spectrum distillate CBD isolate, you couldn't put high doses in products because too much oil ruins almost any delivery system, right? Cookies, tablets, it just doesn't work. Too much oil. So that was one reason I was like, I don't think CBD works, because all we were consuming were small amounts. Once the industry got to a point where they could isolate the CBD more and more, Mountain Made uses an isolate, so 99.9% CBD. It's our crystal clear CBD.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to consume a lot more. So once I got into the isolate and I started playing around with these high doses, what I noticed right away is that it was like brain food. My brain wanted to work, and it wanted to run harder, and it was running more efficiently, right? So I'm a type A. I'm up early. I start my day. I run 2 small businesses. All right. I only pull money out of my businesses if my performance demands it. So I consider myself a commission-only person off my businesses. I only pay myself if the company's doing well. So I get after it every day. The CBD for me in a high dose, the crystal clear CBD tablet, the build line was designed to do that. Get up, eat 50 to 100 milligrams of CBD, feed your brain the tools and resources it needs to function at a cognitive level at its absolute finest. CBD does not make you drowsy. Those terpenes and the trace amounts of THC that I was talking about that are found in the oils as they're refining them out, that's what makes you drowsy, not CBD. So by the time we get it to a CBD crystal, it's ready to pump food into your brain.
You talked a little bit about autism. Tell me what your product has been doing for children who's been on the autism spectrum.
Sure. So technically, I have to back out of that conversation.
Okay.
What I can talk about is under the medical marijuana umbrella, I help children with CBD and THC therapy. And the reason I can talk about that is there was 2 physicians and 2 parents who signed legal documents saying that our dispensary could sell them CBD THC from cannabis, and they could administer it to their children.
So
technically, Mountain Made, we have a 21-year and over marker on our website. And if I talk about selling product to anyone younger than that, we could lose our bank account and our merchant service.
So we don't want that to happen.
But what I can touch on is the medical marijuana, which was high CBD with trace amounts of THC in it, and I can talk about that all day long.
Yeah. So what are some things that you're seeing out there as it relates to, let's just say, the families that you've come in contact with, or just stuff that you're seeing across the country as people that are using this?
Yeah. So again, we had children flock to Colorado in 13, 14, and 15 to get medical marijuana distributed to them with higher levels of CBD and smaller levels of THC, mostly for epilepsy, and it came in all forms. What we noticed with those children is it was super effective. We don't know exactly what was effective, though, and we're going to take this conversation and we're going to jump over to full spectrum and broad spectrum CBD oil and in the scam that people can fall into on that. So it's going to relate. We'll have kind of two conversations off this. When it was effective with epilepsy, it was dialed in. It was dialed. I mean, these kids, were reducing 90 to 95% seizure activity. They're getting motor skills back, functionality. I mean, it was a godsend. When it didn't work, the activity levels ramped back up, and some of the children would spike or peak in seizure and epileptic activity. So what we found was consistency was the key to longevity. Okay, and let me now pause there and kind of go back and give some more information. So you and I, Dr. Lamar and Mike, we have a cannabis cultivation site, and we grow a strain called R4 that used to be called Charlotte's Web, right? And that cannabis produces 20 milligrams of CBD to 3 milligrams of THC on harvest one. The next harvest, it produces 17 milligrams of CBD and 5 milligrams of THC. The next harvest, it's 25 CBD and 2.25 milligrams of THC. That inconsistency would trigger children coming in and out of symptoms. Some children would respond best to one ratio. Other children would revert back into epileptic behavior when the ratio changed. So what we were unable to determine is why. Was it a terpene difference in there? Was it the CBD to THC ratio? What ratio is best? None of those questions ever got answered because at that time no one could study cannabis. Even doctors in Colorado couldn't study those children on cannabis. They could just agree to allow them to take it. So there was a wall in front of us all. And the reason I want that to resonate and be so important is Mountain Made and most CBD products are not going to work for severe needs people. Mountain Made is made for the general person, and most CBD products are as well. And we're going to touch on that in a moment. So inconsistency is in bringing a more consistent product to market is the next wave of product development because, think about it. Everyone says marijuana is good for nausea. That's actually incorrect. GW Pharmaceutics narrowed it down to a terpene. One terpene, which is a smell and taste molecule in marijuana, they identified as the terpene that was anti-nausea. So it's not cannabis, it's the terpene. So if I smoke 10 strains of weed and only 3 of them have that terpene, not all weed is going to be good for nausea. So to lump hemp in and say hemp or CBD is good for this is inaccurate because there's hundreds of strains being grown, hundreds of strains being harvested. They're getting thrown into giant extraction machines, coming out as bulk oil. That oil's getting mixed up, and no one's having any traceability of what smaller components are in that batch or aren't. So every time you buy CBD oil, you've bought a different product, even if you're buying it from the same brand.
I knew you were the right person to come on, Mike, because you are really not only just schooling me, I'm sure my listeners are like, wow. So here's a follow-up to where you were just going, because we know that you're in a highly regulated industry. So what's the biggest struggle operating a high growth business in a highly regulated industry that is still maturing?
Yeah, so both weed and hemp experience a similar issue, which is banking. We have a bank account for a CBD company. We have merchant services for a CBD company. We were fortunate. It took a lot of phone calls to line that up. We threaded a needle. We were the last person this bank brought on as a CBD client. In cannabis, I mean, it's real difficult to get a bank account. It's almost impossible to get true merchant services. There's some workarounds that are kind of, a duct tape together plan, so to speak. And then it just changes constantly. And hemp hasn't even hit that growing pain of constantly changing. In cannabis, they'll say that your label font needs to be 6-point Arial, and then 3 months later they'll change it to 7-point Comic Sans, and it's just crazy. It's constantly changing. So regulations that come and go and don't really seem to have a direct point or purpose make things super difficult, and we see the downfalls of over-regulation or regulation without a very specific point.
So what are some things that you wish that you knew prior to coming into this industry?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, technically I got into cannabis before there's really much to know about it because it was so early on in the industry. In CBD, I waited until, 2018 to put Mountain Made together. I wish I would have gotten in maybe just a little bit early. I tried twice, and those projects just didn't mature. And in retrospect, thankfully enough, the partnerships that I was working on developing to get to market, just weren't with the right people. So I'm sure you're of the mindset, all things happen for a reason. But, I wish we could have got Mountain Made to market just maybe a year earlier than what we did. I think it would have been the perfect time to get in. We got in at a good time, but we missed our window of perfection.
So what's next for Mountain Made, and are you innovating anything new?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to this consistency, Mountain Made, we use CBD crystal. There's nothing more consistent than a crystal clear CBD tablet. It's homogenized. There's only CBD in it for a reason. Our next steps, so when people talk about full spectrum and broad spectrum oil, in this entourage effect, this elusive entourage effect, what they're saying is, so in marijuana, if I smoke a sativa, it will seem to affect my brain or my cerebral more than an indica, which affects my body. Now, the THC in sativa and indica is exactly the same molecule. What drives the bus, what makes the THC feel different is the terpene. Each marijuana strain has different terpenes. That's what makes marijuana smell as the terpene and taste as the terpene. That's what makes the THC do different things. So one weed might make you euphoric, one might make you tired, one might make you hungry, and everywhere in between. Well, CBD is no different. The entourage effect is caused by terpenes. So full spectrum, broad spectrum oils do have terpenes, which creates the entourage effect. But what they're not telling you is they have no idea what strain or strains or mixed up hodgepodge strains went into their oil. So they're never selling you a consistent product. With the crystal clear tablets, that's exactly what we're doing, is selling you every time CBD. The next step for our company is to source strain-specific product and bring strain-specific broad spectrum, full spectrum products to market. So if you want the added advantage of the terpenes, you'll get it, but you'll know what strain and what terpenes are involved in that product. So you can always go back and pick that up again and again and again and again.
So Mike, I know you're busy running this company and you are on the cutting edge of being innovative. So what do you do in your free time when you're not leading the team at Mountain Made or out in the field selling product?
Yeah, I live out in the mountains on a couple acres, and I'm probably at home working. We're building about a pretty massive vegetable and chicken garden this year. I've decided to learn how to remodel a home. So I've been doing that for almost 3 years now, in an older home that we're bringing back up to date. Those are passions of mine. I love to mountain bike. I go up to the ski resorts in the summer, and they take you up on the ski lift, and then you rip down on your bike. Running, jiu-jitsu, general HIIT, high intensity training and strength training. So to be honest with you, I mean, what I do in one shape, form, or another is work. I like to get up and work.
So same here, man. I didn't tell you this in the beginning, but Colorado is one of my favorite states. And the next time that I'm in that area, once all this stuff is done, I want to come hang out with you because you named several things that I'm really, really into. And I appreciate you just taking the time spending with me, man. But before you get out of here, how can our listeners find out about more Mountain Made products and get in contact with you to either to have you come on and talk about your product and also purchase them?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mountain Made, MADE, mountainmade.life. That's where all the CBD products are found. Through April, what we've decided to do, because we know, there's a lot of folks out there that are taking a financial hit right now or have more of a financial burden placed on them. If you buy any Build product, which is our flagship 50 milligram CBD tablet to really saturate your body, we'll give you either a boost or a recover for free. That's a $37.99 value. The recover is the evening dose. The boost is the midday dose. So it's just kind of our way of saying, thank you. We're in this together. Let's get through it together and work together. If you need CBD, it's here for you, and we'll eat, the cost of that unit and get it out to you. And that'll run all the way through April.
And that's great, Mike. I'm so excited that you're doing that because I am seeing a lot of companies step up to the plate to just really support people in this country because, we all are in this. You hear this whole statement that we all are in this together. And actually, we are. And to hear that your company is offering, that, and I really appreciate you doing that. Any emails, numbers that they can reach out to you on?
Yeah, there's a customer service line, a chat line, and an email on the website. If they utilize that, they can just say Mike, and it'll filter through to me. We sponsor 20 to 25 athletes. It's called our Mob, our Mountain Made Mob. They can check out the Mob. They're there to look at. It's a really cool group of very talented people. A lot of them are on the pro level to keep some inspiration going. We did, just so everyone knows, we did have to take down all of our articles and product reviews. The FDA has cyber bots out, and even if you post it, if I post the article from Israel that says 300 milligrams of CBD is proven to help reduce anxiety, they're claiming that even by having that article up, Mountain Made is making the claim, and they will shut us down. So we've taken all the science articles and product reviews off the website. If anyone has any specific questions, again, if you email the support@mountainmade.life email, I can get one of the customer service reps and help direct an answer back to you.
All right, Mike. Well, you've been a great guest, but before you get out of here, this is my favorite part of the show. It's called the Super Bomb Questions, where I ask the guests just a variety of questions so our listeners could get a chance to know them a little more outside of the work that they're doing. So are you ready, Mike?
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know if your listeners can hear. Can you hear it on your end? My neighbor's kid is firing up his dirt bike.
Oh no,
it's a little lively out here.
No, we're good, man. So here we go. What's your favorite? What's your favorite word?
Oh man, my favorite word. My favorite 3 words, and you'll see it on the Mountain Made website, is "go like hell." If I had to lump that into one word, it'd be hustle.
What's your favorite quote?
Oh man, my favorite quote. Let's go with my grandma, who would always say, you gotta chip her up and be happy with who you are.
What's your superpower?
Oh man, if I had a superpower, it would probably be not sleeping, so I get a couple extra hours of hustle in each day.
What's your spirit animal?
My Doberman.
What moves you to tears of joy?
Oh man, the older generation, I've seen some of these 90 to 100-year-old people that have beat this virus. The one gentleman, said if he survived the foxholes of Guam, he could beat this dang on virus. And people that generation bring me to tears. I bought my home off a W-2 vet. And the day we lose our last person from that generation is going to be a hard day for me.
What moves you to tears of sorrow?
Seeing seen people get taken advantage of just from a lack of information. I think, again, people that are informed making good decisions. And I think we're seeing that now, like you said in your intro, with the TV and the media. It's unfortunate that so many people's minds are taken advantage of. You don't have to agree with me. Let's just talk about it in truth, fact-based manners and learn from each other from a fact-based standpoint.
Good point. What do you wish you had more time to do?
Oh man, I think if my wife was answering that question, she'd say sit still on Sundays.
If you were in the Mr. America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Oh man, probably moving the whole time the show was on. They'd probably say, "Man, this guy just was pacing backstage the whole time."
Well, Mike Pachan, CEO of Mountain Made, man, I appreciate you for joining me in the bomb shelter. I wish you much success. I thank you for taking the time to hang out with me here and sharing a wealth of information with me. I know that I was enlightened, and the beautiful part about podcasts, those individuals can go back and play it over and over again and take all the notes. So Mike, thank you for hanging out with me today, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just ask the question. My favorite question is, how can I help? If anyone has any questions after the show, you know where you can find me, mountainmade.life, and wishing everyone the best. Thank you so much, Dr. Lamar, for having me and the company on.
And thank you. I also like to thank my engineer, Alec Blanc, my producer, Kimberly Peterson, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and stop being stingy and share me with your friends. There's enough of me to go around. We're on all the platforms. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen and that some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in, and do something for someone else other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace.